everybody. It is proper Wednesday afternoon and I'm surrounded by dogs once again. And I was sort of sorting through my footage from visiting the Kings Park Psych Center, and I realized that I never introduced what I was doing or where I was. So I figured, let me do it now. So for this week's video, I thought that I could explore one of the haunted places on Long Island. Yes, with Guinness. And we visited the Kings Park Psych Center, which is an abandoned psychiatric hospital on Long Island. So enjoy. Wow. Okay, yes, we're moving. As we're walking, I can just do a little bit of a history of the Kings Park Psych Center. I know basic stuff, nothing too deep, although there's some really brilliant articles online, and I'll link to a few in the description. The Kings Park Psych Center was founded in 1885 as an overflow facility for a Brooklyn psych center. They were experiencing overcrowding and over-enrollment in Brooklyn, so they thought, let's open up a psych center on Long Island in the suburbs, in what was back then farmland, that was supposed to be, out in nature, rest, relaxation. The Kings Park Psych Center was a pretty successful nature retreats haven facility for about 10 years, and then quickly started to suffer from a lot of the same problems as the Brooklyn Psych Center. Overcrowding, over-enrollment. That's when you started to get a lot of these sort of multi-story brick buildings that you'll see in my video. Happy fall. And I think the sort of most famous building, or the central building on this campus, is called Building 93, which is a 13-story facility for psychiatric patients and treatments. And the sort of famous history, or infamous history, of the Kings Park Psych Center specifically is that it was one of the first psychiatric treatment centers to use electroshock therapy, and was really heavily involved in sort of developing and pioneering the testing and treatment methods associated with that. So this psychiatric center, during its heyday in the early to mid 20th century, was responsible for administering a lot of really unethical psychiatric treatments, which is what sort of makes it famous now as an abandoned and possibly haunted location on Long Island, which I'll get to in a bit. But most famously, electroshock therapy and lobotomies were practiced at this facility.
What have you uncovered? A pile of grass. Nice.
The window's open. Right, so I guess to sort of just cap off this brief and highly bullet-pointed whirlwind tour of the history of the Kings Park Psych Center, the facility closed down permanently in 1996, which is really not that long ago. That's the year my little sister was born, and I would have already been alive, so really quite late. And since then, it's been, as I said, transferred into a public park, the Nisqually River State Park. I think the first time I
Hi.
You want a treat? Hold on. I need a treat break.
Hi. Yeah, good boy. Did you get scared before?
I'm trying to be like, it's because he's a scaredy cat, not because there's any sort of weird energies here. Okay, Guinness, all right. So I'm just having a look at what the plaque says on the door. Sort of between 2002 and 2004, it looks like there's a whole list of elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools in the Kings Park area who contributed paintings and murals to the windows of this building. The first time I heard of the Kings Park Psych Center was when I was maybe 9 or 10, around there. I went to church with this girl who lived in Kings Park, and for her birthday she would do these like huge scavenger hunts where we'd all go over to her house and we'd be divided up into teams of 4 or 5, and then we'd each have a parent who would like drive us around, and we'd have to, you know, take pictures and do all these silly challenges and things like that. And one of them was that we had to go and knock on the door of one of the buildings at the Psych Center. And I remember, well, I was from Smithtown. I was like, what's so scary about that? And all of the girls in my car were like, oh no, who'll do it? And I was like, I'll do it. I'm not scared of anything. Like, well, I was scared of everything, but I was like, I'm not scared of knocking on a door. I'll do it. And I went up to the building, to the door, and I knocked on it, and it swung open. And to this day, I don't know if it swung open just because I hit it really hard, or if someone was like being a Weisenheimer and like decided to like give it a kick or something to sort of scare us, because we didn't stay around to find out. You know, we all just screamed and legged it back to the car and dove in.
Good boy.
You can see it. You can see it over the trees. I'm gonna try to show you. It's far from us, but you can see the main building. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you. It's like kind of eerie in the fog. So let's have a look. Right, do you see it? It's that triangular building sort of rising out of the fog. That's the main building of the Psych Center. Now, we've pulled into a different area, so I'm not sure we can get over there, but that's the one that you see as you approach. That's the main building. Oh, wow. The reason I came to the Psych Center today is because it's October, it's spooky season, and Long Island is actually a place that has a lot of haunted mythology and sort of ghosty locations. I guess some of the famous ones would be like the Amityville Horror took place on Long Island and the house still stands. The Kings Park Psych Center is another big one. My town, Smithtown, has a bunch of different local ghosts. There's a house at the end of my street that is said to be inhabited by the ghost of the owner who killed himself there. And there's a pub across the way that I think he also owned. This would have been back in like Revolutionary War time. The staff will say that they'll hear glasses clinking around or doors slamming when no one else is there. The center itself, in my opinion, has sort of a few different types of horror and ghosty mythology surrounding it. I think the first is a sort of like Stephen King childhood rite of passage mythology of people who have it's the wind, but that scared the bejesus out of me. Guinness! The first sort of mythology surrounding this center, I would say, is the stories that I heard from my friends and others who came to the center and may or may not have entered the buildings, sort of describing things that they saw or found left over by previous residents, doctors, certain wall decorations, medical equipment and instruments, things like that, that there is this sort of, oh, the old Psych Center, I've been there and I've seen things kind of mythology surrounding it. The second and sort of most obvious bit of ghost or horror lore about the Psych Center is this is a medical facility where psychiatric patients were treated with unethical, non-consensual, cruel means of treatment. And because of that, there is a lot of local lore that residents can still be heard screaming from the buildings and rooms. Ghosts of certain famous residents. I think there's particularly a ghost of a young woman that will appear. This is also the case because when the center closed in 1993, they attempted to move some of the final residents out of the center and into nearby local facilities and community centers, but there just wasn't room. Again, sort of no care, no facilities for these people who are suffering from mental health issues. And so a lot of that sort of final cohort of patients is thought to have gone missing or become homeless or is otherwise unaccounted for, and therefore there is this local lore of where did they all go. And also, if you're driving in the Kings Park Psych Center at night and you see a mysterious hitchhiker, don't stop, don't roll down your windows. That was one that I heard as a child. I remember hearing that and getting the shivers. Now, whether or not the Kings Park Psych Center is actually haunted, I'm not going to make a determination on that because I have complicated feelings about ghosts. But I will say I do think that there is some truth to the idea that energy collects around places, and places where a lot of negative action and feeling has collected can have a kind of, I don't know if the word is evil. There is a real sense of like, things have happened here, it's been left, and no one wants to deal with it anymore. No one wants to look at it.
What? Funny boy. That's my dog taking a piss.